This episode is brought to you by Endless Comics, Games, and Cards. Whether you are a dedicated Wednesday warrior or looking for the latest drop of TCG or sports cards, Endless Comics, Games, and Cards has you covered. While Endless is known for their large collection of both single-issue comics and library of graphic novels, not to mention their monthly comic book club, they also stay fully stocked with singles and sealed product for Magic the Gathering, Pokemon, Yu-Gi-Oh!, and many others. What's the best part? You can set up a pull list online at endlesscgc.com and they'll send your books to you. So head on over to endlesscgc.com or check them out on social media at endlesscgc.
Hey, this is Chip Kidd, graphic designer and writer of The Avengers in the Veracity Trap with Michael Cho, and you are listening to the Oblivion Bar Podcast.
Welcome to the Oblivion Bar Podcast with your host, Chris Hacker and Aaron Knowles.
Joining me today is the legendary book designer and writer behind projects like Batman Death by Design with Dave Taylor, Mythology and Marvelocity with Alex Ross, Batman Animated and Dark Knight, a true Batman story with Paul Dini, and most recently, The Avengers, The Veracity Trap with artist Michael Cho over at Abrams Books. It is my absolute honor to welcome Chip Kidd onto the Oblivion Bar Podcast.
Well, thank you very much. I appreciate that. Glad to be here.
Absolutely. Chip, what an honor. As I said there in the intro, so great to have you here. And actually, I would love to start this conversation by talking about sort of this large idea that I'm sure you've probably noodled on quite a bit throughout your career. But, you know, as a society, it feels like our relationship to art and the way that we sort of ingest it is changing very rapidly. And how, like you, I assume, I believe, books in their many form can and should act as art objects. And you once said, I think it was maybe possibly in a TED Talk or maybe it was a podcast interview. I can't remember exactly where it was, but you said that ebooks lack thingness, sort of like in quotation thingness.
Correct.
And that books you've worked on throughout your career, they all feel like candidates that you could just sort of take off the shelf and study for a bit. So my question for you, first question here, Chip, is with the convenience of digital here in 2025, do you also fear that we are beyond the point of return when it comes to our relationship to physical media as art objects?
I don't really, because I see it the perspective of a publisher. Mm-hmm. We're publishing as many books as we ever have, and people are buying them. Mm-hmm. Ebooks still only account for something like 7% of our sales. I don't know how else to answer that. Like I try to make the reading experience a physical thing for the reader, for them to hold it in their hands and smell the ink and pace it their own way. So the latest book is The Veracity Trap. Well, it's not like Abrams said, you know what, this is going to be ebook only. Mm-hmm. They never say that. And we at Pantheon never say that. In fact, most of our graphic novels are not available as ebooks because the artists don't want that. I don't know if that answers your question.
No, absolutely it does. I think it sort of just like reaffirms what I've been thinking as well. I'm a huge physical media collector, both with film and with books. And as you said, there is this sort of magic that goes to just holding it in your hands. And I also think of like this idea of like, I fear that we're getting to this point now where we just sort of read/watch whatever's in front of us, whatever the streaming services want to put on their service or whatever is sort of popular among like book talk. I don't even know if you know what that is, but like TikTok has like their own little fan club of like books and comics. And usually it's like whatever the influencers are reading, that's what, the youth are reading. And I'm saying youth as a 30-year-old. I shouldn't be saying youth. I'm not that much older than them. But point being is that I'm just sort of worried that like the day and age of, having a collection and I know you and I are sort of this mind of like, that's something that we just do inherently, but I'm sort of nervous that like our attachment to physical media is sort of waning. And I just want to sort of get your thoughts on that. And sort of, I basically want you to reassure me, I guess is what I want to Chip.
All right. Well, let me reassure you as somebody who's literally more than twice your age. Uh-huh. like I said, I work in the physical book business, both as part of my day job as an editor at large for graphic novels for Pantheon, and also as a freelancer. The Avengers in the Veracity Trap is a freelance job. We're, like I said, we're publishing as many, if not more, books than we ever have.
You're basically telling me to stop being so pessimistic, and I should. I totally agree.
I am, but I'll also tell you, like, at the risk of sounding like the ostrich with his head in the sand that I am, I'm not on TikTok.
Sure.
I don't have it on my phone.
Yeah.
And yet I find out all about it, like even whether I want to or not. And I'm not quite sure where I'm going with this, but the quote, influencers are not influencing me about anything. But of course, I'm probably not their audience. So there you go.
So I should get off TikTok, is what you're saying. That's what I should do.
Do what you want. But, comic book stores still exist. I was just at one in Austin, Texas, a couple of weeks ago, signing the Veracity Trap book, and it's still a thing. I mean, especially what's going on now in this country.
Yeah.
There's only so much that we have control over. And I think you have to, we're getting very deep now, too deep, but
I want it. Bring it on. Bring it on. Yeah.
Well, you have to be mindful of the things that you can control. You can control what you do. You can control your immediate environment. And it may extend beyond that. You can control what you create, what you want to read. You just have to be mindful of that. Like, I have control over this thing. I don't have control over that thing. I can voice my opinion about that other thing, but this is what I have control over, and that is where my attention should be focused. And now, of course, I'm a single middle-aged gay man who's never had a family. So that's a whole other experience that I will not have. But for those of you who do have that experience, you have that responsibility to them. Yeah, sorry. I thought we were going to talk about the book.
No, we are. I just wanted to set this up because I feel like I can't have you on the show without at least picking your brain at least a little bit about, as we said, influence and sort of like where we're at currently in terms of physical media, because I'm a firm believer that a lot of the success that we've seen within publishing over the last 3 decades has been, I think you play a large sort of important role in that, I think. And I have a question about that later on, but I do want to sort of, one more thing before we get into the Veracity. I want to talk a little bit about your TED Talks that you've had here recently. Well, not recently. They were 2012 and then 2015.
That's right.
You still look great, by the way. Even back then, you look like you've actually, it's like a little gray, but I have a little gray in mine too. But honestly, you look just as good, if not better, honestly. So,
are you seeing anyone?
I am unfortunately hetero, but that's
there's nothing unfortunate about that. I was making a joke.
That's my cross to bear, unfortunately, Chip. That's what I'm saying.
So the first TED Talk, was March of 2012, and you have to keep in mind, which I cannot watch, by the way. I think it's kind of dreadful, but you have to keep in mind that at the end, I'm basically pissing all over the Kindle as a piece of crap, and I know that Jeff Bezos is in the audience.
Oh, wow.
So
you're the voice for all of us.
Hey, I mean, but yeah, I mean, that just seems like a whole lifetime ago.
Well, can I quote you from that, from I think it was maybe the 2015 one. This will lead me into a question I have about sort of this idea we're sort of circling right now. You say here in one of these TED Talks, the book designer's responsibility is threefold: to the reader, to the publisher, and most of all, to the author. I am not responsible for the content of the book. That's the author's job. But at the same time, I am responsible for what the content looks like. And I found that really fascinating. When you're both the writer and the designer of a book, similar as you are to the Avengers and the Veracity Trap, do you still approach those responsibilities separately in sort of how you're speaking there in that TED Talk?
I mean, that's a good question, because now we're talking about authorship, which I was not in that talk. I was talking about the presentation of the authorship.
Sure.
So it's a different I want to say problem to solve, or it's more about, well, what kind of story do I want to tell? What do I want the takeaway to be for the audience? And can I make it worth their money so that they buy the book? They're similar but different things. Because when I'm responsible for the content, as well as what it looks like, that's a bigger responsibility. And you've got to juggle all that, or thread the needle, if you want to use another cliche, and try to do the best you can at all of it.
Mm-hmm. Sure. It really pops, I think, on the shelf. As soon as you see Veracity Trap on the shelf, it is that sort of orange, and of course Michael Cho's art, all that together, and of course the font. I love a thing that you guys do with the dust jacket as well.
Okay,
great job with that.
Good. So, all right. So you got that.
Yeah.
Like, that was really, really important to me. And I owe this book to my editor and best friend, Charlie Kochman at Abrams Comic Arts, who is just a hero all around. And he, acts as like the go-between between like me and Mike and the Marvel editor. And, we all have to ultimately be in agreement about what we're doing. But sort of at the 11th hour, I said to Charlie, can we print on the other side of the jacket? Can we print on the reverse? And he said, well, let me look into that, because it's more money. It's like 4-color process on both sides of it. And he got back to me and he said, yes, we can. And I was filled with girlish glee because I knew exactly what I wanted to do, and which is what you see. And you can reverse it, but when it's on your shelf, the spine still works. It still says what it is, and you can find it. I wanted to make it a much more epic feeling presentation. And I understood why we had to do the jacket that we did on the other side, but I wanted to give the reader the option to change it up a bit.
Yeah, and honestly, I like both sides. I actually don't know which side I like best, because, of course, on the front you have sort of the normal trade dress. It does a really good job of teasing what you're about to walk into. And then on the other side, of course, it's just, if you're a Michael Cho fan, which I think a lot of us are listening to this, and both of you and I together, of course, it's one of the greatest showcases of his work on any book. So let's just let's just go right into Veracity Trap here. Again, as we spoke about here thus far, and actually it's already out. If folks are listening to this conversation now, it came out on August 6th. It's actually my birthday, Chip. So thank you for putting out
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for putting this out on my birthday. And this is part of the Marvel Arts imprint within Abrams, as you spoke about there. And I'll do sort of a brief synopsis here, just to sort of, prime the listener here. So it all starts with an epic battle in Asgard as Loki, the god of mischief, comes into possession of a weapon of unimaginable power and assembles an army of otherworldly monsters in an effort to carry out his evil plans. Cue the Avengers: Captain America, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Giant Man, and the Wasp, who meets his horrifyingly throg of Beast heading on as a thrilling knockdown, drag-out fight ensues. But when the smoke clears, what appears as a typical raucous comic book takedown is revealed to be something very, very different and very, very terrifying. And this discovery threatens to destroy the Avengers in a way that Loki or any other foe had never thought before, because this time the enemy is the truth. So before we get into the actual story here, Chip, I want to talk to you about Michael.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you've talked much about how much you respect and love Michael as a person, and I want to get into that as well. But, you've worked with some incredible illustrators throughout your career, as I mentioned there in the intro. Alex Ross, of course, the late Dave Taylor, and then, of course, now Michael. So just sort of a simple question here. What's unique about the way that Michael Cho approaches storytelling?
Oh, what he's doing is so clear, but so beautiful, with an economy of line, and he gives you just enough that you understand it, but that you also have an emotional connection to it, which is very important for any of these artists who you are describing. I was first approached by Charlie Kochman, who gave me an open brief and said, do you want to write one of these things? And I wasn't going to say no. But it's, what do you do? Like, yeah, you can pick any Marvel character you want.
That's how it was presented. Was you kind of get like a sort of a fresh slate to tell any Marvel story you want to tell?
Which is bad. Because like in the graphic design business and the book cover graphic design business, there is an axiom that when you give the client too much to choose from, they won't choose anything because they can't focus it. They can't boil it down. Give them 3 things. So what had to happen was I had to decide for myself, okay, let's make it the Avengers. Let's make it the Avengers in 1964. Let's see if we can get Michael Cho on the line and talk about it. He and I have a really great, long, productive history together. The first time we worked together was on a Batman and Robin and Superman short story in Batman Black and White. And that went really, really well. And then I published his original graphic novel called Shoplifter here at Pantheon, which is still in print and which is excellent. And I highly, highly recommend it. What brought me to him with the Avengers and the Veracity Trap, was I already had the concept. But then who do I want to try to get to be the artist? And now you were talking about like the evils of TikTok, but his posts on Instagram of his convention drawings, I mean, the Batman one, they're all great. But the Marvel ones really got me thinking. And he did one of Iron Man with the V faceplate.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, that's right. I love that. I love that so much. And I think that was like all of 2 issues. So I thought, well, let's just shoot for my first choice. And I called him and he picked up the phone and we had a nice long talk, which eventually led to what you see. And once he did agree to do this, fully understanding that it would be at least 3 years of his working life, what I wanted to bring to it was like, okay, I've got the concept, but now how can the writing serve Mike's art the best way? I haven't written much comic book material, but in each case, I knew who the artist was. Tony Millionaire, Michael Cho, Alex Ross. And you write to what they can do and what they do really well. And what I'm thrilled about with this is, yes, Mike has done dozens of brilliant, gorgeous covers for Marvel Comics, but I want to see him do a story, and I want to see him do a long-form story, and I want his abilities to shine. That's what the whole opening sequence is about. It's just a big, old-fashioned, knockdown, drag-out fight. But I want to see sequentially how he handles that. And by the way, all of those monsters are Kirby monsters from the early 1960s. Like somebody had said, oh, Fing Fang Foom is in there. Yes, he is. But all the rest of them, those are also Kirby monsters that previously existed. And once I got fixated on that, that was very important to me because those comics appeared before Fantastic Four #1. There's just this outrageous sense of fun and weirdness and you know, look at this big damn thing that's gonna like crush us all, and how do we defeat it? And I just thought, I want to put a gang of those together and see what happens. And we did. But then there's so the basic concept is, for this book, there are 2 realms. There is our realm, which is reality. But then on the page, there is the Marvel realm. In the Marvel realm, the 2-dimensional comics page, those characters think that what's happening to them is real. And they think that they have free will. And they think that they can control what they're saying, what they're doing, how they're going to try and defeat the enemy. It's just what would happen if, okay, in this case, Loki creates this portal so that if they go through it, if he can trick them into going through it, when they come out on the other side, they'll understand what they are, as in their drawings. And then there's this whole like 3-page soliloquy by Thor, who's trying to explain to the rest of them, to the rest of the team, like what he has discovered. And both hilarious, but also in its own way kind of profound, to the point where he says, even these words I'm speaking to you were written by somebody else. And it's not the first time that anybody's ever done this by a stretch. But I think what we were able to do with it, I'm hoping, is in its own way unique. And there was this takeaway that I finally figured out that I wanted the reader to have, which is, spoiler alert, towards the end, the Wasp, who has some of the best lines, by the way, says to me, well, okay, but how would you like to know that you're just somebody else's idea? To which I respond, but Jan, the only thing that everybody has in common, everybody in the whole world, is that we are all somebody else's idea. Mm-hmm. We didn't create ourselves, like somebody else had to do it. Which I completely stole from Rick and Morty when at the one episode at the end, he says to Summer, nobody asks to be born. Right. Let's watch TV. And yeah, I completely stole that. Yeah. But I'm sure that the writers of Rick and Morty stole it from somebody else, and that's okay. So, yeah, I mean, I really wanted this to... It's a delivery system for Mike's art and how good he is, and attention must be paid, because I really think that he is of the very, very best working in the comic book industry now. But like, nobody given him the chance to do a whole story, and that's what we were able to do.
Yeah, and thank you for that. I think a lot of us that are longtime Michael Cho fans will tell you that I think a lot of us have been sort of begging for some sequentials, some panels from this guy, because obviously his covers are incredible. And like you said, I'll echo it. He's one of the best. And it was sort of funny to me, though, I think, with the Veracity Trap that, as you said, it is sort of fashioned as this Silver Age tale. And, for a long time, too, even in the Silver Age going into like modern, it felt like comic creators had to like sort of subtly put themselves into their work, because to be honest, and I think you would probably agree with this, comics for a long time, it was disposable trash for kids. Like that's sort of the way they even saw it, I think, to a certain extent. Yes. But then, you fast forward to 2025 with this work with you and Michael, and you guys in the most meta way possible have put yourselves into this story. So I'm sort of curious, was it difficult for you both, or for you when you sort of came up with this idea, and striking that balance between playfully inserting yourself into this story and also at the same time staying true to the story that you and Michael wanted to tell?
Well, so backing up a bit, Alex Ross is an executive editor on this series of Marvel Arts for Abrams Comic Arts, and he's very involved. And I remember early on, we had a Zoom meeting of Alex, Charlie Kochman, me, and Mike Cho. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And Alex, as he is wont to do, pulled up every instance of me writing a comic book story that also has me in it. And I'm like, yes, I'm a textbook narcissist.
You're all of us, though. We would all do it.
As a fan, I want to meet these characters. And I know that sounds ridiculous, but it's a way to do that. And I know that the Avengers book gets a bit speechy at the end, but that was our chance to do that, which was to say thank you to everyone. And I mean, who we're really saying thank you to is, of course, Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Mm-hmm. But in the book, we're saying thank you to the characters, because we want them to feel that they are real, and that once we go back through this portal at the end, we will destroy it and they won't remember any of it. So Yeah, so I just spoiled the whole thing. But
well, I don't think as this story is warm. It feels like a hug, kind of like I loved
Yep.
reading it. But I will say, and I think you may agree with me. I think this is a book that you sort of have to experience and you have to hold in your hand, like we said before. Like this is a book that you could totally know every story beat, but I think the true enjoyment to be found with it is actually experiencing it and seeing Michael's sequentials and sort of seeing this loose storyline that we're laying out here.
I mean, I wanted to make it into something that the reader would feel they would want to read again and again, because there are like certain revelations in it where you think, well, wait a minute, like that doesn't hold up. But then hopefully if you go back and read it again from the beginning, you'll be like, oh, okay. And I should mention here that Michael also colored it, which was a huge thing. And it was a huge undertaking. And he wasn't going to do it originally because he didn't think that he would have the time. He has a family. He has to support them. We got paid for doing this book, but it's like not, you know, it's not like a yearly salary where you can do that. Meaning he had to keep up his freelance illustration work. As in, I'm not going to have time to color this because to do this properly is going to be very intensive work. Well, once he had drawn everything, he decided, I can't hand this over to somebody else to color it. I have to do it myself. And he did a spectacular job because there's this effect in it when characters are going from the one realm to the other that has to be handled very specifically, like a drawing that's being undrawn and then is being drawn again, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it's like sort of colored with the inks and everything on the outsides. As you get closer to the middle, it sort of turns into the sequentials, just pencils. And as we get closer even, it sort of turns like almost like radio, like the color, like the 3-color process starts to sort of maneuver around. And in the middle, it's sort of like this whiteness, right? Is that the panel you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's incredible. And I'm just curious really quickly, what was your response whenever, because when Michael said that he needed to color it, from my understanding, and when we talk to a lot of creators here on the show, I think most artists who have the ability generally want to color their own work because it's like they're fully realized, you know, work. There it is. Like I did all of this, you know? And as you said, and for a lot of folks, that's hard, right? That's tough to do all of that in like a deadline space. What was your response whenever Michael said that he was going to color it?
Well, I mean, I was thrilled to hear it.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know how else to say it, but again, like in my quote day job at Pantheon, everybody I publish colors their own work. So Chris Ware, Art Spiegelman, Charles Burns, David Mazzucchelli, Maurice Velacoop, and the latest one, Anders Nielsen, Tongues by Anders Nielsen.
Oh, I have that. I'm excited to read that.
Oh my God. It's
one of the best design books too, I should say as well.
And that's all him.
Yeah.
And that's like with Chris Ware, like he's as great as a designer as he is an artist. Tongues just blows me away. It's shocking. And it's only volume 1.
That was a sight unseen, buy right off the rack at my local comic shop. It's one of those ones, as we were speaking about with Veracity Trap as well. You see it on the shelf and it really pops. Right. Like, but not in like the same way, you know, Veracity Trap is like very colorful and it's very boom. There it is. Like you see the Kirby crackles and all that. But with Tongues, yeah, we don't have to make this into a Tongues conversation, but like,
hey, I am fine with that. Yeah. I am fine with that. I love that book. I'm so proud to publish it and I'm so proud of him. And he's a great guy too, Anders Nielsen.
Yeah. Well, let me get back to basically this. There's this panel here in the book where you and Michael sort of have, or at least I'll say Michael has like some doubts about the story's direction, right?
Yes.
And you sort of reassure him in that moment. And then obviously a lot of the Avengers stuff starts happening around that time. So I was just curious, was that scene based on a real life back and forth that you and Michael had together?
Of course it was.
This was a setup for you to like go into that.
How dare you ask? It was an attempt to head all of this stuff off at the pass.
Sure.
If that makes any sense. Like, okay, so let's immediately address what the reader just saw. So, but it wasn't a conversation that we actually had. It was me writing a script as if we had that conversation, so that, I don't know if this meta thing is working. People have done this before. And I'm like, no, you're knocking it out of the park. Wait till you see where this is going. And, oh, yeah, but why the monsters? Well, this is why. And, in the middle of that conversation, it's like, oh, wait, did you hear that? Boom. It's like, hey, we can kind of do whatever we want. And this is what we're going to do. But I did want to. I wanted to answer to all that, and our editor at Marvel was a guy named Tom Brevoort, who was just amazing, and
one of the all-time greats.
Yeah, no, he was fantastic. But I would get notes from him where he's like, "Okay, you need to explain what the veracity vortex is for, and why he creates it, because." When you're writing anything, like whether it's a novel or I imagine a script for a TV show or a film, or in this case, like, well, of course I know what it's for. Yeah. What kind of question is that? It's like, well, yeah, but you've got to inform the reader. Mm-hmm. Like in this case, spell it out. Yeah. Like Thor's asking Loki, like, why did you create this, and what does it do? And he was right, and Tom was right, and that's what an editor is for. It's because the writer gets so myopic about it. They're familiar with why they're writing what they're writing, but sometimes then it's unclear to the reader. Sure. And in this case, we just had to cover all the bases. Like, oh, that's why he would do this.
I think that sort of plays into another reason why I love this book. I think you could easily hand Veracity Trap to a 4-year-old.
Yes.
And they'll love it, right? And then, of course, I'm 30. I love it. And I think we could maybe love it. We'll love it for some similar reasons, but I think we'll also love it for very different reasons based on like what you and Michael are going through in this story as characters within it, right? Not only as characters within it, but also as the creators of it. It is sort of this fun sort of vortex of ideals and themes and all these things. It actually, honestly, it's just one of those things that as I was reading it, as I said a moment ago, and I apologize if I'm buttering you up too much, but it was just sort of it was like a warm hug. Like, you know what I mean? Like it did all the right things. It was playing all the right notes for me. It was the perfect amount. And I'm sure that Tom had something to do with this, but I'm sure a lot of the credit can go to both you and Michael, but it was like that perfect mixture of like Silver Age ham, but like a little bit of modern seriousness that we can all sort of take from.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Chip, one final question for you here before I get you out of here. And, again, it's been such an honor to have you here on the podcast. I want to refer to a quote, or at least a passage, as I was reading your book here. Well, not your book. It's actually, and I hope I'm saying this correctly. It's Véronique Vienne. Is that how you say it?
Véronique Vienne. And that book is probably older than you are.
91. I don't even know. I didn't see what year this came out, but it was fascinating. I really loved getting through it. And honestly, it was really cool to go through and just sort of see the complete catalog of a lot of your earlier work. But in this, she interviews a peer of yours, Milton Glaser, and he describes
Glaser.
I'm sorry, I apologize. Glaser.
And he designed the DC logo with the stars in it.
Whoa.
Sorry.
Exploded my brain here. Holy crap.
Yeah.
I have it right here. This one right here.
Yeah. Milton Glaser designed that in the 70s.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, Mr. Glaser, he described you as this. Okay. And I tend to agree here. A design demigod, an inky colossus, and the closest thing to a rock star. So
ridiculous. That was very sweet of him. He was a great hero of mine. He also, in case you don't know, he did a lot of things, so many wonderful, brilliant things, but he sketched on a napkin for the New York Travel Board in the late 70s, I, Heart, and Why. He said, here, I'm giving this to you. You make this the campaign that gets people to come back to New York.
Wow.
So anytime you see I Heart anything, that's him.
I feel like I maybe should have known that, because that's
okay. No. It's okay. It's okay. But it was a privilege to know him. And if you make things that people love and they don't even know you made them, it's okay. It's okay because it means something to them.
Yeah. And honestly, I feel like all of this that we're talking about here, it had me thinking about this idea that I wanted to pick your brain on to sort of end this conversation. And as we've talked about, you've already cemented yourself as an icon, as a designer. I think 3 decades ago, you were already, I think, considered by many as one of the greatest in your field. But I'm curious, in 2025, and you can tie this into Veracity Trap as well, but what motivational force still pushes you to create in 2025? Is there something, is it an accomplishment? Is it an itch in your brain? What still motivates you here in 2025?
I mean, it's all of that stuff. I don't want to tear up here, but like when I was a kid, when I was in college studying graphic design, and I would read, going back to Milton Glaser, I would read these interviews with him where somebody would say, well, when do you think you're going to retire? And every time he said, I never want to retire. I want to be doing this for the rest of my life. I never want to stop. That had a tremendous effect on me, as I'm sure it did a lot of people. Can you imagine being in a job that you never, ever want to retire from? That's my goal. So I don't want to stop. And I get these opportunities. But again, like part of my day job is like, I can't stop unless I retire. Next month on October 6th, I will have been here at Penguin Random House for 39 years.
Wow. Congratulations.
Thank you. And yeah, and I'm very proud of that. And I'm very grateful for it because nobody has to hand you anything. You have to work for it. And I've been able to, just to even get the opportunity to do it is amazing. Today, I got a new manuscript from the writer Haruki Murakami. Yep. And it's like, okay, that's going to be one of the next things to work on. And next month, this book that's a celebration of the 75th anniversary of Peanuts is going to come out. And that also was from Charlie and Abrams. And I got to work on that. And that's, it's amazing. It's amazing. I'm incredibly grateful. I don't want to, I don't want to stop. And Mike and I were like, okay, let's try and do something next. So we're going to try.
I will say it's just so refreshing to hear someone again. And I'm sure it's probably weird to hear anyone say that like, oh my God, you're one of the best of all time, or you're the best, all of that. Like all of us, we all have influences. We all have people that we look up to in some way or another, but it's refreshing to hear you say that you're still so chronically motivated to continue to create, right? Because I think, again, my point in that question, I think, was more so to just be like, you have nothing to prove. I don't think you have nothing left to prove. And you've done such incredible work throughout your entire career. And to see you and Michael doing it with Veracity Trap again, and everyone that I've heard talk about this book, they've loved it. And I think, again, it has something to do with Michael and finally getting to see some sequentials from him. I'm sure it has something to do with you and sort of this idea, this illusion of change and what this story sort of centers around and how we all think that we're in charge. But are we, all of this? I think it's just really resonating with people in 2025, especially as you said earlier, sort of the climate we're in currently. It all feels sort of like we're powerless. And
Exactly.
I truly think something like this is the sort of medicine that we need,
I mean, I'm grateful to hear that. One of my mantras is never stop learning and never stop wanting to learn. That's what I try to do.
And one day you also, too, may be an inky colossus. You could get there if you really want to.
Inky colossus. That's too funny. I mean,
did he ever tell you that in person? Did he ever say that to your face?
No, I mean, but we had some great conversations. There was a magazine called The Believer. I don't know if you ever came across that. And they asked me to interview him, and I did that. And I interviewed him on stage at the Cooper Hewitt Museum, but no, like an inky colossus. It's very funny.
Well, Chip, like I said, such an honor to have you here on the show. Truly, congratulations,
Thank
both
you.
you and Michael, for what you've done here with Velocity Trap. I'm very excited that this is out and that people can go out and grab their copy. Again, it came out on August 6th for everybody. I will have links for everything in the show notes, so you can either buy it from the Abrams official store. I'll also have links to all of Chip's things, all the places you can find him and some of his other work. And Chip, I didn't want to like spend this entire conversation chatting about all the different stuff that I have from you. So I'll wait till we're done recording so I can speed run through all the things that I've collected from you over the years. But it's been truly a core memory here on the Oblivion Bar, chatting with you here today. And I will say, before I let you go, I'm going to pass it off to you one more time. Is there anything you want to sort of plug? Any proper way you think people should follow your career going forward, or anything else before I let you go?
I don't know how to answer that. I have just semi-subject change. The Velocity Trap, it is an all ages book. And you touched on that. And I've heard like, oh, I read through this with my 8-year-old son and he loved it. And he loved when the wasp flew through the nose of the monster. If this can be a gateway for another generation to enjoy and learn about these characters, that would be great. But there also is like it's like the Looney Tunes cartoon Duck Amuck, which this is also that was a big inspiration on this. When you're a kid, you view that a certain way, and Peanuts is the same way. Mm-hmm. You view it a certain way when you're a kid, but then when you grow into an adult and you read it again, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, no, I sort of didn't understand that when I was a child, and now I do. Mm-hmm. And I mean that in a good, profound way, but often it can be, like I remember as a kid, and I'm sorry, I know you want to go, but
No, I don't want to go. I was just trying to be courteous to your time, so please keep going.
As a kid, like watch in a Peanuts strip, like Snoopy watching a leaf fall from the tree onto the ground, and that's it. And I'm like, the 8-year-old me is like, what is that? But then you eventually understand what that is. And yeah, like I don't know if this book is going to be that profound, but we wanted to put everything we had into it and make it into as great an experience for the reader as we could.
And I think that this is an incredible gateway into that world. I think, comics as a medium is a great gateway into, I think, art and reading. It was for me. I don't think I would be an appreciator of all types of different art, not just comics and reading, but like my appreciation for art started with comics.
Same here.
Yeah. I mean, Velocity Trap, I think, could be an easy poster child for, hey, like this is why comics are really cool. You hand it to someone who's never read a comic, or you hand it to your younger niece or brother or sister or whomever, and you go, hey, like this is why I love comics right here. Bam. And they can sort of appreciate it in the same way, hopefully, that you can. So totally agree there. And I think, I guess if I'm reassuring you here now, I will 100%, I will undeniably put this in the hands of someone who I think should get into comics, because that's the kind of power it has. And I'll tell you what, next time that you and Michael have something going on, I'll reach out to your team. We'll get you back on here to talk about it, because I need more time with you. I want to talk more about not just whatever that project ends up becoming, but also you and your career.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. And thank you for taking the time.